Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. Based on the title, as you can tell, we're going to talk about TB500, which is a peptide. Um, so just in case you didn't see any of my other videos, my name's Jonathan, history of decade in the emergency department, and I've built health and wellness optimization clinic. So kind of have foot in both camps, both with reactive medicine on the ER side and then preventative medicine on the health and wellness side. And then we'll start some educational stuff on peptides. Um, so for this story, an example for someone who's used TB500 in the past, know and came across a gentleman that was playing volleyball, injured his ankle, and actually broke his ankle and needed to have surgery. And was going over what we found through research and everything, and he ended up using TB500, and essentially his recovery time was cut down a pretty good bit. His healing time was better. He'd had surgeries before. He's like, I had not recovered to this degree this quickly. And even on his postoperative appointment, the surgeon was pretty impressed with how far along he was with recovery. So there were some attributes to what he was thinking was related to the TB500. So we'll get into it. First and foremost, here's the disclaimers. Read this, at your leisure. But essentially, I'm not providing any health information. This is an educational presentation, and this is based off individuals that I've seen who've used peptides, colleagues of mine who have used and integrated peptides into their practice, and individuals that I've spoken with and done peptides themselves. For the time being right now, the vast majority of peptides are for research purposes only. So let's continue. TB500, by the end of this video, you should know what TB500 is, how it can help you, and the most published way or recommendation on how it's taken based on research clinical studies. So this is the compound, super interesting, just long chain of amino acids. That's what peptides are, is chains of amino acids. So what is it? TB500 is the synthetic peptide version derived from thymosin beta-4. Thymosin beta-4 is the peptide created by the thymus gland. And that's the thymosin beta-4 is, TB4 is the natural version of it. TB500 is chemically identical, but synthetic and made in the lab. That's the difference. So TB4 is naturally produced in the thymus gland. TB500 is made in a lab synthetically. It stimulates growth factors and healing proteins. So it's a special protein found in our bodies that helps with a ton of different processes, including building and moving cells, healing wounds, growing new blood vessels. You'll see across the website when you dive into the, if you dive into this yourself, or with the studies that I'm referencing, it'll use the term angiogenesis, and that's what that means, is growing new blood vessels. So it helps with developing new blood vessels, and overall helps with blood flow to affected areas. It helps with fighting inflammation, and it helps protect cells that sometimes either get damaged or sometimes really just kind of explode. It helps kind of protect the cells from doing that. So it can help with aging, some aging research stuff there. This is just showing what we said before. It's chemically identical to TB4, thymosin beta-4, but is the synthetic version of it. Um, so TB4 is naturally produced in the thymus gland. Um, so TB500 does the same thing as TB4 since it's chemically identical, and it helps the development and maturation of T cells, and it's important for immune system. So that's part of when you have younger kids. For those of you who either have your own or nieces and nephews, or if you remember from a kid, if when you have an injury, particularly with like broken bones and stuff, a lot of pediatric orthopedics will say, man, you could chop a kid's arm off, throw it across the room, and then a week later it'll grow back, and then the x-rays look like there was never a break. They just are healing machines. Ironically enough, when we're kids is when our thymus gland is fully grown and actually shrinks as we get older. So once we get into really kind of adulthood, our thymus gland has shrunk, and that's why getting this extra boost with TB4 or TB500 helps, because it's already in our body. It's something we have when we're kids, when we're younger, naturally. That's why it has such a good safety profile, because it's a natural protein that's made in our body. And just as we've aged and our thymus gland has shrunk, we're not making it as much. So you're just kind of adding more to your system. So it's a natural part of your healing process. Stimulates growth factors and healing proteins, what we just talked about in the last slide. So how does it work? It heals wounds faster. It helps new skin grow and makes scars smaller. It reduces swelling by calming down the body's red and puffy response to injury. And it protects tissues, helps keep skin and other body parts safe from damage. It can help with stronger body defense, helps your body fight off germs and strengthens your immune system. Better brain health, may help with brain injuries and nerve problems. Healthier eyes can help with dry eyes. And these are specific. When we go through these, I can get you, the references. But these are specific references from studies that were performed. And this is all on the NIH website, which is a go-to in the health community. Resources like PubMed, where it's in the form of clinical studies. This is about as valid as you can get with those. So these are referencing, so the healthier eyes helps with dry eyes. It was in, I think, mice that they did it, and actually helped with the immune response from these mice that had eye issues and everything. So that's how they found that, and they isolated pathways. So you can definitely go and nerd out on some of this stuff for sure. Slows down aging, helps your body stay young and healthy. It's generally well tolerated in clinical trials. Like I said, since it's a compound or a synthetic identical twin of a natural compound from our thymus gland that you're just adding more to, it usually has a good safety profile. Common side effects include headache, nausea, fatigue, skin irritation, head rush, feeling a drop in energy after working out. And then naturally, individual responses may vary. For any athletes, any professional athletes, you need to be aware of this. It is on the WADA list, World Anti-Doping Association list. So it is not something that you can take if you are officially monitored by one of these credentialing bodies. So be very careful with that. And then these are some studies that I referenced. So a study published in 2010 found TB500 accelerated wound healing in mice. 2012, it reduced inflammation in rats with arthritis. 2014, TB500 protected against tissue damage in mice with sepsis, which is when you have a really bad infection that's in your bloodstream and kind of going rampant. So how to take it? There's no established dosage guideline for TB500 because there hasn't been a lot of published research on the drug to date. particularly in human trials. A lot of these trials are in animal trials. Although, as mentioned before, um, there are individuals, people who have, for research purposes, use these peptides. So, general rule of thumb is to begin with the lowest dose feasible because it's crucial to use the lowest effective dose in research applications. That being said, the most reported dosage range for injuries based on what is available out there, 2 to 2.5 milligrams subcutaneously, meaning in the fat layer underneath your skin, or intramuscularly, meaning in the muscle, 2 times per week, evenly spaced time periods. For example, on Mondays and Thursdays, where it's spaced evenly twice a week. Does not have to be applied directly at the injury site. And in fact, most people typically just do it kind of in the abdomen or the arm or the thigh, including the gentleman I mentioned earlier who had the ankle injury, because when you do it subcutaneously, it actually is a systemic response. It helps with your entire body system and entering your body's natural cycles and negative feedback loops and all that stuff. Treatment duration based on what's out there right now, usually 4 to 6 weeks, followed by a break. Give yourself a break at least for 2 weeks before starting another cycle. But usually 4 to 6 does a pretty good job with helping with the healing portion of it. And it works great with BPC 157, which is another peptide that helps with inflammation and healing. And we'll go into that peptide at another time. So again, 2 to 2.5 milligrams subcutaneously or intramuscularly twice a week. So the subcutaneous is getting it into that fat area there, and intramuscular means getting it into the muscle. Vast majority is subcutaneous. So it's a little bit more bioavailable, meaning it gets into your system a little bit quicker and is a little bit more effective. And on top of that, usually the subcutaneous needles are generally like the diabetic needles. They're very, very small, so they tend to be pretty well tolerated as far as administering. And that's just a recap of what we talked about. The 2 to 2.5 milligrams subcutaneously twice per week, evenly spaced, 4 to 6 weeks, followed by a break. Works great with BPC 157. So back to our overall goal. What is TB500? It is a peptide. It is a synthetic version of thymosin beta 4. Thymosin beta 4 is a peptide released by the thymus gland when we're younger. As the thymus shrinks when we get older, we start to lose it. So TB500 is the synthetic lab version of TB4 or thymosin beta 4. How can it help you? It can help with wound healing, inflammation, injury recovery, and general anti-aging research. And then dosing again is 2 to 2.5 milligrams subcutaneously or intramuscularly twice per week, evenly spaced for 4 to 6 weeks, and then being off for at least a couple of weeks. Where you can get it, Limitless Biotech has really good. They're pretty pure product, and actually you can go there. You usually get a discount with peptide 15 that you can use each time, and you can see in the picture, kind of in the bottom, it has those charts. That's something I like about Limitless Biotech, is that they're very transparent about their stuff. They have third-party testing. I have had other companies before that I requested. It's not as open for the third-party testing, just to kind of get their certificate of analysis and to evaluate their purity. I'm not going to name who the other ones were, but there was typically a pretty good delay in my request and then receiving it. And then we ran it through a little software program just to tell, hey, is this an image that's been manipulated or not? And a lot of other ones were manipulated, and this one tended not to be. So this is just one that I trust. Not to say that there's not other ones out there that you can trust. but this is the one that I'm most exposed to. So pop quiz benefit you might expect from TB500 is A, immune system support, B, reduction in inflammation, C, surgery and recovery, or D, all of the above. The answer is D, all of the above. What is TB500? It is a synthetic version of a natural compound called thymosin beta-4. B is a pharmaceutical grade anti-inflammatory compound. C, it is a peptide found naturally in the stomach. D, it's an essential mineral. And the answer is A, is a synthetic version of a natural compound called thymosin beta-4. How much TB500 should you take? Really, what is the overall question is, what is the most published dose available based on current clinical research that's out there? A is 250 micrograms twice daily. B, 1,800 milligrams daily. C, as much as it takes to heal. D, 2 to 2.5 milligrams twice per week. And the answer is D. Feel free to reach out with any questions, and we'll see you next time.